Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, it is that night of the week again. The work week is done. SmackDown is over. It's Friday night. It's 10 p.m. I'm Dan Marty.
And me, I'm John Cena Sr.
Baby, the Fabo Pop is in stock. Hit us up, BW at BostonWrestling.com. Our brand new Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays is now. Wrestling fans, I'm Dan Marty.
And this is the man of the hour, Leo Rush.
It's all over BostonWrestling.com and our social media. But Leo, brother, they got to check out some of this merch.
They got to.
Check it out, fans, right now, available on eBay. Support Wrestling Insiders and keep wrestling legends working on eBay. At Survivor Series, it was champion versus champion as WWE champion Drew McIntyre battled Universal champion Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman. Get this 11x14 poster autographed by all three men. Limited edition, number 42 of only 50, with authentication hologram on the back of the poster itself. Comes with a mystery autographed 8x10 photo and an on-air shout-out from WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas on Wrestling Insiders at your house. Get it now. Boston Wrestling Sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE, NXT, and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
All right, wrestling fans, the road to WrestleMania continues. SmackDown is done for the night. The lights at the Thunderdome in Tampa are going dim. I don't know if you're going to be at Fabulous Estates down there anytime soon, but that $8 million complex, 43 acres down in Tampa, private beach. You got it going pretty good down there in Tampa.
Let me tell you something. Tampa's the place to be. I also have a place in Naples.
That's right. I forgot about that
and
one.
Now I'm looking for a place in Orlando. I might buy a place at the Villages.
I don't think you'd want to go there.
Why?
Did you know that that's one of the STD capitals of the world?
Do you really believe that?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you?
Well, you know what? I probably have it in for somebody.
But I mean, no, but you know, you have all those old people with a lot of free time on their hands, a lot of activities, getting a little frisky. I'll have to tell you off air sometime about the time I spent in the Villages.
Really? Would you fill me in on that?
In 2009.
I'd like to hear about that.
Well, it involved a female that wasn't Linda, who had a grandparent that lived down there. So
I'd love to hear about it because I'm seriously looking at one.
it was the house is just too small for you, I think, Johnny.
Well, you know, I just need.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about maybe about 5 feet in between each one of them.
That's good because you know
You like to
no.
you like to be
I'm looking
close,
at a
we know
place
that.
that Monisa's family wants a vacation. They can go down and enjoy themselves.
that might be a good
I don't want
idea.
them on the estate.
I don't know,
Yeah, another story for another time.
or any of those oulettes.
Oh,
We. All right, Johnny, last week we talked about WWE, the road to WrestleMania. It continues with its many twists and turns as we look forward to the big event along with Fastlane this month. But after we concluded taping the last time you were in studio physically, the news broke that your longtime close personal friend, The Big Show, as he was known in WWE, has moved on to new endeavors in All Elite Wrestling as Paul White, his real name, and he's now with the quote-unquote competition, Johnny. What do you think about a blockbuster signing for AEW?
Let me tell you something. Talk about being in shock. When I saw that press release, when you sent it to me, I was like, you have got to be kidding. Because the last time I knew, Paul Wright had stated that he was going to be with WWE for a long time, and he looked forward to working with those coming up through the ranks to be able to help them, show them, and guide them, and get involved on not only a wrestling side, but a mentor side, I guess I can use. I'll tell you what, I'm in shock. 22 years plus, and this guy is jumping ship. I don't know. I'd like to know what Vince McMahon thinks about this one.
Well, I know it caused a lot of havoc as far as merchandising goes when they plan out action figures ahead of time, video game characters ahead of time, and things like that they're going to have to remove them from. But it did come, and it takes a lot to kind of blow me away. But as you had left, I sat down at my computer and started going through the emails. In AEW, you know, they send me the press releases and the updates and so on. And I said, Paul White, I said, that couldn't mean Big Show. And then I clicked it, and his face was staring right back at me.
One of the nicest human beings. I always tell you the story about I was at the Garden, ringside. He was in, finished his match. You know, he's laughing, the great jovial guy he is, and he puts his hand out to shake my hand, and I'm saying, okay. I put my hand out, and what does he do? He grabs me and rubs my, he's all sweaty now from this match. And then at WrestleMania, same thing. His wife, what a wonderful human being she is. She usually wears the top hat. What a great human being, great couple. I'll tell you what, he is going to be sadly missed at the WWE. There had to be something, and I don't know if it's just money, but there had to be something that made this man change his mind.
Well, he was going to kind of, I don't know if transfer is the right word, but be transitioned from more of an active talent contract to a Legends deal. And there's a significant decline in income. I mean, you're talking about a lot of the Legends contracts, some of them are only $500, $750 a week. Some of the top tier ones, maybe $100,000 a year outside of someone like Hogan. But for someone that was accustomed to probably close to, if not $1 million a year lifestyle, that's a big decline in income, as well as enjoyment of the job. You know, maybe if there was a position for him to still be active, as maybe a producer or an agent or something like that, to be actively engaged with the young talent on Raw and SmackDown, or maybe even NXT. You know, maybe that might have appealed to him. But whether it be the actual position, I know the finances did play into it to some degree from what I was told. He decided to move on to a new opportunity with great relations where he had worked with Chris Jericho. They were tag team champions and feuded with DX a little over 10 years ago. I believe he was a Cody Rhodes WrestleMania opponent at one point. I'm sure when, as the Giant, when he was going through the WCW system, he had to have become familiar with Dusty Rhodes. So, you know, many working relationships right there. I'm sure Goldust, we both had long stints within the company, as someone that he would have known well. And, you know, of all the people that have gone to the company, no negative feedback that I'm aware of as far as regretting leaving WWE to go there. So maybe he felt it was a great move for him. Right now it's in Jacksonville, as far as I know. Big Show still lives in Florida.
He lives in Florida, yeah, he does.
Yeah, so not the longest of commutes. Bi-weekly TV tapings right now. I mean, it seems like it could be, potentially for him, a great fit.
Well, he's still a young man, in my opinion. You know, I don't judge people by age. I think that, and I guess I'm really kind of disappointed. Apparently there was no counteroffer. Or if it was nowhere near what they offered him. And you know what? I guess I have to say this. I say it a lot. I say it to my sons. You know, I say it to friends when we go with a business deal or whatever. Friendship ends where business begins. And I think that Vince at the top would say the same thing. So apparently, I just hope that the parting of the ways was amicable, that everybody is happy, and they really do mean what they say. We wished him the best on his future endeavors because he is one man, like The Undertaker, who gave his body, who did what he had to do for the company. So he's got a new job. Money played a part, you say. I guess that's important to a lot of people except me. I don't have any.
You have too much.
But I give it away.
Yeah.
I give it away.
Very generous, I'll give you that.
I give it away. So I just hope, I wish the best to Paul Wright, nothing but the best. I'm sure it was a great decision on both parts. I just hope, again, that it was an amicable split between WWE and Paul Wright. That's so important to me because they had such a good working relationship.
Do you think it would have been worth it for WWE to invest megabucks in a 49-year-old Big Show?
My answer is no. I have to agree with what you're alluding to. I think when a man reaches that age point, 50, 49, 50, that's when you begin to look at where's the dollar value, all right? So how many times can you use a Big Show on a surprise match? It's almost like Lesnar, bringing him in 5 or 6 matches at a time. So how much can you do? And then what is the value? What is the value? I guess that's the word. And apparently, there wasn't enough value to put asses in seats and to bring these young guys and young women up. And apparently, Paul, who loves the business, decided that this is a great opportunity for me. It's a great chance. It's good for me. It's good for my family. And he'd probably get, what, a 3-4 year contract out of this?
That I do not know. I know it
well,
was
let's say it's 2 years. Let's say it's a 2-year
minimum
contract.
if it's multi.
Yeah, so let's say 2 years. 3 is at best. So you know what? The good part is now he's got time to really pull back, begin to plan retirement, because even in his own words, I mean, when you chat with him, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to probably retire pretty soon. I understand that nothing's forever. So I think those are the kind of things that I look at. And then when I see this, it's kind of like, whomp, hit the side of the head with that big hand.
Well, maybe it also came to a point where he wanted to be around, maybe not in the ring, but wanted to be around the industry still on a weekly basis, and they just didn't have the proper spot for him.
I would agree with that, because his general comments were he wanted to be involved. Not necessarily in the ring. I think he realized or realizes that I can't do what I did. It's an awful thing to say, but the older you get, my body can't do what it did when I was 35 or 40. So you realize that there's a point where at some time you've got to transition from wrestler to manager, maybe from manager to announcer, whatever. And I think Paul Wright was there. He was at that point. I think that what he intended and what he foresaw was not the same vision that maybe Vince or WWE saw. And when this came up, it was a great opportunity to allow him to, as you say, remain in the mix and do what his dream is to, I guess, what is the word, wind down his career.
Well, and on the flip side, I'll ask you this, almost the exact same question we did a moment ago about WWE. Do you think it's worth it for AEW to invest megabucks as they're a growing company looking to get new eyeballs on their product, to grow their identity, to bring in maybe someone that isn't exactly a household name, but to wrestling fans certainly is a Hall of Fame talent, someone certainly that's getting a little long in the tooth, that's closer to the end than to the beginning, but seems to be motivated to want to contribute to the success and the growth of the company. Do you think it was worth them maybe to, dare I say, overspend a little bit to be able to bring in the brand that is Paul White?
Yes. And I say that for a couple of reasons. You're buying 22 years of wrestling experience.
And that's not even including his WCW stint.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So look what you're buying. Look what you're buying. And look at the role he's going to play. It's not all in ring. So I think he's got the best of both worlds here. I think they made a wise investment because you can't buy what he's going to contribute. So I say yes. I say AEW made a good decision there. Again, I'm shocked when I find out that maybe the counteroffer wasn't what he expected, or he even expected a counteroffer. Maybe he just said, this is it. I've had my run. It's been a great time. I've got a chance to move on. But to move on with the competition, that's where it gets a little sour.
Well, at least right now it's competition to NXT, which was something he never really had involvement in. If it was a WCW, WWF Monday Night Wars type situation, perhaps there could have been a little bit more attention with, and I don't know how much there is or there isn't. All I know is some of the facts that I found out with my sleuthing, that, you know, it caused, in the merchandising ways, it caused some headaches with some things they had planned for him with the video game and the action figures and things like that, that, you know, sometimes they take a year or so to plan out. As far as him as an active talent, is WWE really going to miss him? Again, how much more was there for that man to contribute in that company?
He's done it all.
Yeah.
He's done it all.
He's done it all. And what I find interesting, Johnny, is he potentially could be the first person to hold, and you know, you got to look at it loosely, but WWE Championship, WCW Championship, ECW Championship, AEW Championship.
That's not a real possibility at all. But I tell you that the first thing you're going to see is the surprise person come out and face Shaq, and that's going to be the Big Show.
Well, I tell you this, Johnny, I think the key to Big Show working is how WWE missed the boat with him, is that moderation is the key when it comes to the Big Show. You can't have the guy on TV wrestling every week, or he just becomes part of the package. It's why Andre was always so special.
That's right.
He was enigma. He was someone that was used in time to time, not weekly.
And that was
he
a
was
smart
full-time
move.
with WWF for the last few years, but it's not like he was wrestling in big marquee matches on free TV each week.
Right.
I think part of the reason The Undertaker had the longevity that he did was, from pretty much WrestleMania 20 going forward, he was never a 52-week-a-year guy. He had stints where he'd be in full-time, and then they'd kill him off, or he'd be injured or something like that. And, you know, he'd be away from the television screen for a while, awaiting that big return. I think a full-time Big Show on TV is not to their benefit. I think a Big Show that wrestles 4 to 6 times a year is to their benefit. Put them on the pay-per-views, maybe a couple of big TV specials each year. Keep it special. Make it meaningful. Make it have that value to it. Make everything he does maximize that dollar you're paying him. If you want to have him as a commentator on one of the YouTube shows, he might be a great broadcaster. I know he's very well spoken. He's a very smart man.
He is very.
I think he could potentially be a very good commentator. Another thought that I also had, I don't know what you think, is that AEW has generally a very small, and I'm not talking about physical quantity, I'm talking about actually physically, smaller guys that came from the independents. My worry would be you put him in the ring with some of these guys, and it's going to look like a dad with a 4-year-old son. You know what I mean? And you don't want to expose your regulars that you need out there on a full-time basis to be very, very small compared to someone the size of the Big Show.
I agree.
And people know he's a big man, but I mean, I don't think people realize how I don't want to sound rude. I don't think people realize if they met. I think they'd be surprised if they met a lot of some of the AEW talent in person at what their actual size is.
I would agree with that. Kenny Omega is another person that you say, wow, larger than life. No, that's why he fit well in New Japan Pro.
I mean, Moxley stands out as kind of big in AEW, and Jericho stands out as kind
They're
of
not.
big in AEW.
No, they're not.
And I am much bigger than them in real life.
Even me.
And I know the Big Show is much bigger than me in real life.
Oh, he definitely is.
So, I mean, for him to be standing next to some of those people, I think it would kind of hurt them a little bit.
Well, I still say that now he's in. You asked this, we did a couple of shows back, you asked about, who's going to win this? Cody Rhodes, female, Shaq O'Neal, who's going to win this match? I'm telling you, get ready. It's Big Show's going to be the surprise, bam, with the one punch, and it's going to be a couple of matches with Shaq versus Big Show.
You really think they'd go the route of Shaq and the Big Show?
Maybe not one-on-one like that. Maybe not one-on-one. But you know what? Why else? Why else? What do you do with Shaq after the match is over? You tell me.
Well, They air about, what, 40 NBA games a year on TNT? He's a great analyst for basketball. I think, you know what, there isn't much in the tank with. Maybe I'm going to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope Shaq comes in and does great business for them. And he does get new eyeballs on the product. And maybe he comes in as a part-timer where there's the TNT tie-in. Maybe it's going to turn out great. I've been told that people that have played basketball of all the different sports have the easiest time acclimating themselves to pro wrestling, whether it because of the physical movements or whatever it may be. Maybe Shaq has great value to wrestling, and I just haven't put the pieces in my brain together yet to see what I'm going to see once it develops on screen. I don't know. On paper, I don't see it being anything I'd want to see more than once. Nothing I'm really not all that excited to have on the TV screen even once. I hope I'm wrong. I hope AEW has come up with a great concept for him, and he's going to really help the brand and help the business, because it's good for the business if AEW does well. I just don't anticipate it.
The trouble with bringing in outsiders to perform in professional wrestling is if you're current and you're a star, bring me in, because the younger generation knows who you are. It'd be like bringing Lady Gaga in to face Sasha Banks. All right, there's something like, wow, Lady Gaga. People will buy tickets. You know what? Shaq is my era. I hate to say that, but that's my era. That was my time. I know who Shaq is. Nothing but good words for Shaq O'Neal. Hell of a basketball player. Hell of a philanthropist. Great all-around human being. Will he draw? Probably not.
I think for the first time, for that tag team match, I will have, and it'll have aired by the time this episode does, I will have assumed it should give that show a big bump in the ratings for all the promotion they've gave it.
We'll
and
see.
It's free. It's not like it's a pay-per-view.
I understand.
It's free TV.
It's good. I like their TV. Believe me.
If I'll tell you this, if AEW doesn't hit 1 million people the night of Shaq's match, monster disappointment. Monster disappointment.
Okay, I guess I got to really stick my neck in a noose here.
All right, let's hear it, baby.
I don't see how they're going to reach 1 million people because Shaq O'Neal is there, because there's nothing special about that match.
Well, you're taking one of NBA's great centers in the history of the game and putting him in a wrestling ring.
Could have put Larry Bird in there.
Well, Larry's a little longer in the tooth than Shaq.
I understand that, but the fact of the matter is, you're taking. Look, first of all, I don't know how much sense this match
Let's
makes.
hear it.
Anyway,
Yeah.
You know my feeling on that. I already voiced it. So my whole thing is, will there be 1 million viewers? As you said, if there are, I'm wrong. Maybe I'll buy you the coffee and muffin next time.
Well, I've still, in my 40 years, I've never had a cup of coffee, so it might be a cheap day at the office for you.
We'll get you tea.
I've never had a cup of tea.
There you go.
I like iced tea.
We'll get you. You've had tea then.
Like my good friend in the control room, Cecil the Lion, he always hooks me up with a lemonade or a raspberry iced tea.
There you go.
Another
See that?
reason why we love him.
There you go. So my whole thing is, let's really see what happens here. You know, how does a 7-foot guy face a little Cody Rhodes? I told you before,
But you know,
get him
the
off
thing
his
is, Cody
feet.
Rhodes, he's not as height in hand. He doesn't.
He's quick on his feet.
Very quick on his feet, but he's a decent enough size guy.
No, I understand.
It's not going to be a monster expose like it would be if it was the Young Bucks.
I think
per
when they
se,
come
or
to the
something
ring,
like that.
when they come to the ring, Big Show will escort him down.
You think so?
It's got to be. That's going to be the surprise element. It's got to be. Now that Show's there, now you get this 7-foot guy, this 7-foot guy. You know what? I see that look in your face, but it's like going to a bakery. You don't like the cookies I eat, but there's a line for them.
I think it exposes Big Show. Because if you remember the WrestleMania 32 Battle Royal, for two guys that were about to be, that are supposed to be the same size, Shaq looked like he had a good 3 or 4 inches at least on Big Show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'll digress for 1 second, Johnny. You mentioned Larry Bird a minute ago. Did you know he's from one of your favorite places?
Where's that?
French Lick, Indiana. Did you know that Larry's from French Lick?
I didn't.
Well, we
Had
know,
a lot of Larry Bird autographs that I
we know
sold
you
very
like,
cheap.
Really? Oh, geez, I wish I had known that. Was a huge Larry Bird fan.
Were you?
Yeah.
Had an autographed clock. I had some autographed memorabilia from Larry Bird that I let go very cheaply, which I'm sad to say I did. I shouldn't have.
I know you were, at one point, I don't know about now, but a big memorabilia collector in sports.
I still do. I have. I probably have about. My guess is now about 6,000 cards.
Wow.
Baseball, hockey, football, pro wrestling, Star Wars, Simpsons.
Don't say that too loud.
Yeah, what's that?
Star
Wars. Yeah, Darth Vader himself will come out. I think I may have a Kobe Bryant, and I think I may have a Mark McGuire rookie.
Wow.
So, I just hang on them for the grandkids.
Do you enjoy a French lick?
I could come back with a
You and Margot, you could travel to Larry Bird's hometown and actually live it.
I'm surprised you haven't asked me if I like a French dip sandwich, but
No, I don't know about that.
we'll move on.
That's Mr. Super Bowl style. But
Okay, here we go.
Johnny, we did a big show. It's going to be interesting to see just how big of an addition he is going to be. The fans had some interesting, it was a fan that had a very interesting question with multiple answers. They wanted to know, Johnny, in your opinion, who do you think, which company has done the better job with certain talents that have been with both WWE and AEW in recent times? And there's a few, the distance in tenures vary, but point blank, the first one we'll throw out there is Jon Moxley. Do you think the man has found greater success in ring in AEW or WWE?
Without a question, AEW.
And I agree with you on that one. I think the AEW presentation of Jon Moxley blew away Dean Ambrose in WWE. Overproduced, lousy promos, especially towards the end. A lot of lousy creative from Moxley.
They destroyed another person they were destroyed. They destroyed him.
Chris Jericho.
I think Chris holds equal billing. I really do. He was a tremendous success in WWF, WWE. I think he's over in AEW, but again, I think Jericho maybe ought to be thinking about winding down. You know what I'm saying? But I think he's had success in both promotions. And I'll say this, I don't care where Chris Jericho goes, he will always be successful.
Well, I think the problem with Jericho and AEW is too much comedy. And I mean, granted, there was a lot of comedy in WWE too, but multiple-time world champion in WWE, the first AEW champion, I mean, certainly he has had success in both companies. I think right now, maybe the best way to answer that one to me is, if it was 2021, I think better utilized in AEW than if he was in WWE.
Okay.
Over the course of his career, you're talking about a year or so, 2 years in AEW compared to almost 20 in WWE. Does that make sense at least?
It does. It makes sense. No, I agree with you. I agree.
One, and I'm interested in your opinion on this one, Jake Hager, the former Jack Swagger.
I think that they started out on the right track with Jack Swagger in WWE with his famous manager. And then they dropped the ball again on him, and he has done much better on AEW than he did on WWE. I see AEW recognizing talent for talent and allowing talent to have more input than they have on the other side. So I would say right now, AEW.
I have to agree with you. I think especially, and right now, if you were to say where would he be better utilized, I'd say AEW. In WWE, yeah, he did get off to a hot start. He was a world champion, a Money in the Bank winner. He was in a WrestleMania championship match at 29 against your good friend Alberto Del Rio. But, you know, I don't know what they didn't see in Jack Swagger. In a time when size is such a rarity, a guy that was that big to do nothing with him for several years before his contract ended, and he decided to try a little MMA and then move on to AEW. The only thing I don't like about him in AEW, I don't understand the wardrobe. You know, you're talking like when you go to see Grandpa at a barbecue in the summer, you know what I mean? This guy is, I believe he's still in his 30s.
He is. World-class
athlete in great physical condition. Why hide it if you got it? You know what I mean?
It is what it is.
It is what it is. How about this one? Brody Lee, Luke Harper, who unfortunately passed away in December.
There is absolutely no question in my mind that he did much better in AEW.
Really?
Yeah, they allowed him to develop a character. If you want to go back to WWE, I would say that the opportunity for Brody Lee, God rest his soul, was there when they had the Wyatt family. I don't know what happened after that. It just seemed to fall apart for him. They couldn't find a place to use
The
him.
whole Wyatt family fell apart.
Yeah, well, everybody was
just
just
shows
gone.
how bad the creative is.
Yeah, it's
how do
gone.
you take a faction that was that over? And I mean, look at what happened to Rowan and Harper. I mean, as if they were nothing.
No, they just thrown
Nobody's.
gone. And so I would say AEW finally took this gentleman, gave him the opportunity he wanted and needed, and it's unfortunate that, as you know, I say it many times, Hemingway wrote the book For Whom the Bell Tolls. It's unfortunate that it told for Brody Lee, because I think had he been allowed to continue, we'd have seen a lot more.
I hate to say it, Johnny, I disagree with you on this one. I think, I agree with you in a way and disagree. I think as far as the push goes, he got a much better push in AEW. I wasn't particularly fond of the character they were trying to develop for him there as the leader of that horrible Dark Order faction. Where it reminds you of him so much, I would kind of just dissolve it, because each week it reminds you of something sad. I would try and find a fresh coat of paint for some of these talents for a faction that really wasn't over without Brody Lee. That's one man's opinion. I would have liked to have seen Luke Harper get the push that Brody Lee got. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Because I thought there was a lot of mileage in Brody Lee. He was a scary-looking guy that was very, very good and very, very effective in the ring. But for whatever reason, WWE didn't see in Luke Harper what we saw, apparently.
Well,
And AEW saw in the man the ability to be a top-tier player, but I just wasn't a big fan of the Brody Lee character.
yeah, I think what they try to do is recreate that Wyatt family with a different name. That's a mistake.
Yeah.
If you want to go, I mean, I'll go with you. That was a mistake.
What about a man now known as Miro, the former Rusev in WWE? Another one that I thought could have been a top-tier player for WWE for years to come. The fans, I'll never forget that wild week in New Orleans when they were running the streets. The little Dutch boy from Holland couldn't believe the excitement, screaming Rusev Day, tens of thousands of fans, and WWE didn't want to go with it. Vince said they're making a joke of you.
I remember when I first met Rusev, before he had his wife with him. They were traveling together. I'm sorry he cut his hair.
Yes.
That was his first mistake. He destroyed his own character, number one.
And I hate to say it, well, you know, you continue with your opinion.
No, go ahead.
I
No.
think he kind of shot himself a foot in the little bit by slimming out so much.
Thank you.
For his own
Thank you.
personal health, probably for the best.
Yep.
But for his wrestling persona, I think he looked more dangerous, a little thicker.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. You took the words out of my mouth. I think Rusev had great potential in WWE. There's another gentleman they took, pushed the hell out of him, had that great match with Cena at WrestleMania. I mean, it was great. You know, I said, you know, it doesn't hurt to lose to John Cena. We were talking to his family. It really put you over. Yeah, you know, but it was great. And then all of a sudden, where's Rusev? They got him playing the bubblegum machine. This is crazy. Insane. Here's a guy they could have made another Ivan Koloff. I mean, he was so with it. And to bring Lana in and try to pair him with her.
Like she was Brigitte Nielsen in
That
Rocky.
didn't work.
Yeah.
It didn't. I hate to say it. You know, your wife is your wife. Your girlfriend's your girlfriend. It just didn't work. We lost the Russian accent she had. Everything seemed to go the other way. It was wrong to say that. She became this, you know, the person who was against the United States. Rusev was the man. And then what happens? We lose it all. AEW, I think, is going to give him the chance he really needs.
I'll say this. I like that AEW is actually trying to do something with him.
Yep.
But what they've done thus far, I could do without the blonde hair. I don't like the fact that they've used him as more of a comedy character with another guy that I think, a young Kip Sabian from England, who I think has a world of upside to him in the years to come, but they've kind of gone the comedy route with him too. I just think, I don't think there are as many people out there that want to laugh at wrestling than enjoy the simulated violence that it used to represent. I think more people would love to see that presentation than, ha ha ha, let me laugh at them.
You know what?
I don't want to laugh at them. I want to see, like what we were talking about with Bobby Lashley and Roman, some kick-ass wrestlers.
Wrestling. Because
not ha-ha. I don't want to ha-ha. There's a million things I could watch on TV I can ha-ha at. There are very few forms of simulated violence on TV.
I agree. And my whole thing is this. Comedy has a place in anything.
Sure.
Anything. But it's just like when you make that ice cream sundae, if you put too much on it, nobody wants it. It looks lousy and tastes lousy.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah, and that's the problem right now. That's the way I see it.
What about the tag team, formerly known as The Revival, FTR and AEW, managed by the Hall of Famer Tully Blanchard?
I'm going to say AEW. They're doing pretty good there. I think they've done much better than they were before. Much, much better. It only remains to be seen, though, again, how long the push is going to go, how far they're going to let people go. You know, it's a funny business, wrestling.
They have more of an affinity for tag team wrestling in AEW. Some of the tag teams, you know, they might not exactly, some people love them. They might not be the best flavor for others. There's some I could do without, but I like the fact that they have, it seems, much more respect for tag team wrestling than WWE does, where they just try and throw any two guys together that don't have anything going on in the singles ranks at the moment. AEW, you know, they have a big place for tag team wrestling in the company.
I agree.
I think they had some great matches when they first came in. They worked with the Omega and Page team, who were the champions. They worked with the Young Bucks. And then it seems like, you know, they've kind of had them in this little mid-card program with the Jurassic Express, and it's, I don't want to say they've lost focus of FTR, but they're not as hot as they were when they came in.
I agree.
But I do agree with you in the fact that I think AEW has used FTR Revival, whatever you want to call them. I think overall, much better presentation in AEW than in WWE, which is a shame because I tell you this, I think it was the WrestleMania weekend in Orlando back in 2017. I thought the match of the weekend, again, thanks to our good friends at WWE for allowing me to be there to see them, the best match of the weekend, I thought, was Revival against Tommaso and Gargano against Authors of Pain, who are no longer with the company at all right now. Isn't that sad? Just 4 years ago, they put on what might have been certainly one of the better matches of the weekend, if not the best. And 4 out of those 6 guys aren't even with the company 4 years later.
Well, you know what? That's how it goes in this business, and I can't wait to
Nothing
see
is forever, for
Ciampa
sure.
and Gargano to reach that top level if they make it that far.
Well, I'll tell you this. I hate to say it, and I said it to our friend with the beard. The best thing that ever happened to Tommaso was that he broke his neck when he did. Because if they kept him on the main roster when they brought him, Gargano, Ricochet, and Aleister Black up at the same time, he'd be in the same boat as them.
So he'd be
more
gone.
than likely.
All gone.
He'd be gone, or he'd be a guy that's on the main event WWE Network TV show,
And that's
or a
it.
guy losing to Retribution every week.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
So, and I don't want to see anybody get injured. And you know, despite some of the despicable things Tommaso has done in the ring over the years, he's a world-class athlete, good egg.
Yep.
You know, I'm glad he didn't get watered down by WWE Sports Entertainment, because in NXT he stands out as something exceptional.
He is exceptional.
He is exceptional.
I'm waiting to see Donovan Dijak. I don't know what's happening.
Well, yeah, you can see him every week. And I'm not sure if he's T-Bar or Mace. No, he's not Mace. Mace is the one, Dio Madden, that used to be the commentator. But that's a different story for a different time. What about Goldust? I mean, again, very difficult to gauge a man that was with the company on and off for 25 years than one he's been with for 2 years. But 2021, per se, do you think Dustin is better off where he is now? Or, you know, could WWE properly present a legendary Goldust from time to time in a great way?
I think Goldust has finally found himself.
Finally found himself.
Finally, you know what I'm trying to say? He's kind of kind of WWE was just hanging on. After he broke up with your buddy, the young lady.
Young.
Young.
Young. She's older than you.
You know what? If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Oh, that was just a fact. That wasn't an insult.
I understand.
Oh, okay.
She's older than me?
Yes.
Older than 60? Wow.
Yeah, she's getting ready to collect the Social Security.
Woo! Woo! I don't know. I think Goldust is doing much better in AEW than he was in WWE. He was hot, but you could see when he came out with the live crowds with WWE, the pop factor was gone. It was gone. The character had lost its character. It was over. It was time for him to either move on or be written out of the script. So I think he got a lease on life, and I think he's doing well.
I'm happy for him. He's sober. He's clean.
That's what I'm
He's
saying.
got himself in tremendous physical shape.
Yep.
I mean, God, if Goldust was ever in that kind of physical condition, they might have pushed him a lot harder. You know what I mean? Never mind, the sobriety issues that the man went through, but he's in a great place in life right now. He's got a good spot in AEW where he can both contribute in-ring. I know he likes to train younger talent. I'm not sure if it's not open yet, it's going to be opening soon. His training facility down in Texas, which I'm sure will lead to new AEW stars coming into the company. So, you know what? I'm glad. And personally, I like Dustin an awful lot. It was a shame how things ended with him here in Boston Wrestling and the MWF with his hand incident at Billerica High School, but that's a different story for a different time. He ruined a nice annual event that we had, and have never had since, which cost us. But, we won't reflect on that too much here because, normally, sometimes I can shoot when I get a little hot, but I like the guy an awful lot. And he was a funny man, nice guy, with a great passion for the business. And to me, if you have a great passion for the business, I can overlook a lot. You know what I mean? If you're genuinely interested in making an event better, trying to make younger guys better, I genuinely can overlook a lot. But what happened that night in Billerica, that was a lot to overlook. Just ask Commissioner Von Johnson's back seat.
All I want to say is this about what you're alluding to is we have all tripped and fallen. We all have made mistakes in our lives. And I think that's why I say he's finally made that turn. He's come around that corner. I'm sure when we look back on our lives, I know I do, I wish I never did that. I should have done this differently. I didn't realize what happened when I was doing this to this person. You know what? I think that it's time to move past it. He has. You can't, the good Lord made it very clear when he said, before you try to take the splinter out of your brother's eye, go look in the mirror and take the beam out of your own. Basically what it means is, I'm not perfect. Take a look at my own sins and my own self first, and then I'll throw a few rocks if I'm able to. So, he was who he was. We are who we are. I'm just glad, Dustin, you are who you are now.
Hey, you know what? That's a great way to put it. I like that. Lance Archer, that's kind of a tough one to even throw out there. He had a very limited stint in WWE. I think it was on the ECW brand, obviously, where he's found, some main event matches and top-level matches in AEW. Yep. The presentation is better there. But the real one, I think, last one on this list that we could make a decent comparison to is Matt Hardy, a man that he was not fond of one of the episodes we produced when he was with WWE a couple of years ago. Do you prefer I get them confused. Was he woken or broken in WWE? I think both. From a presentation.
No, they had a big thing because you wanted to use that woken Matt Hardy gimmick, which I thought was rather stupid. It was almost like with the white hair and the black hair and the dual person. You know what? Matt Hardy is an outstanding performer.
Yes.
He's outstanding.
Yes.
There's no question in my mind about it.
Yes, his body of work speaks for itself.
Oh, yeah. There's
but
no
that
question.
Gimmick, that character is one of the worst. I remember when he was in TNA, Impact Wrestling, when Zeb Coulter was in creative, I said, what is it supposed to be? And he tried to explain it to me, and it still didn't make any sense.
I don't think it made sense to Matt Hardy. I just think that Hardy came up with an idea.
People like to chant delete. They had fun with it.
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
It sucked, but they had fun chanting delete.
That's right. So my whole thing is, right now, Matt Hardy's in AEW. I hope, he was given his greatest opportunities with his brother in WWF and WWE. I think now in AEW, he's got to prove something. I hate to say it, he's done a lot in his life, but he's got to prove something now because we want to see Matt Hardy.
Well, I don't know how many personality transplants one can go through in 6 months. Since he's been in AEW, he was broken or woken or whatever it was with the nonsense.
Was woken, broken, yep.
Then he became regular Matt Hardy, trying to help groom the Private Party tag team, who I think have great upside. I don't know how much you've seen of them, but they're green. But in 3 or 4 years, once they have more experience under their belt, I think Private Party could be one of the better tag teams in the business overall.
Yep.
But then he went from being broken, woken, then he was Matt, then he was kind of both of them, and now he's big money Matt Hardy, where he's the super agent trying to get 30% of everybody's earnings. And it's just like, he's only been there 6 months. How many times are you going to try and change the guy's personality?
I'm just wondering if it's creative that's doing this or it's Matt Hardy himself that's doing this.
Do you think he wants to try and give himself a fresh coat of paint to keep himself relevant too much?
I agree. I
think there's a lot of fans that just like him for him.
Be who you are. Like me or not, I'm me. Fine. I just think that he has so much talent. He has so much ability. I respect him, and I've worked matches with him on the indie side.
He's got a great mind for the business.
To say the least, my friend, to say the least.
But I don't think he's using it for himself.
Well,
if he's the one that's contributing to these ideas, no matter where he's been the past few years, outside of that Hardy Boy reunion, I haven't enjoyed any of the personalities.
No, and you know what, I have to say this, and I don't mean this in a derogatory manner at all. He's so banged up.
Yeah.
And so is his brother.
You can tell just when you watch him trying to get through the ropes.
Right, he's so banged up.
Mustn't be pleasant.
He gave his body up, just like his brother. How do you can't diss a guy like this because they truly gave 900, 1,000% of themselves for the fans. I don't like the big money guy. I don't think it's going to work. It's like trying to be, just bring me in.
It's like a poor man's
Bring Johnny
MVP.
Fabulous in.
There
We'll do
you
it.
go.
We'll do it for you.
There you go.
All right, forget Matt. I'll show you how it's done. We'll do it and have some fun doing it. And I'm just being a wise ass. But I think Matt Hardy should be Matt Hardy. Be the man you are. Be the professional. And I'm not saying you're not, but come on, let's see Matt Hardy.
All right, wrestling fans, before we go, one more tidbit from the world of AEW. Tony Khan, leading up to the pay-per-view, made a remark that apparently Sting is, people had wondered if it was going to be the cinematic Sting people were going to see a lot of in the company, or in-ring Sting. Apparently Sting has, especially from the powerbomb that he took headed into the pay-per-view from Brian Cage that almost took his head off again, he has a clean bill of health. I don't know if he was one of those superstars that we've talked about that I noted that had the stem cell work done down in Mexico, or apparently it is legal. But if he did, no matter how he got to the point he's at now, he's healthy enough to go. And I think, again, almost like with Big Show, if you could get 3 or 4 big matches out of Sting a year, it pays for itself. Not only do you have someone that's a legend on the TNT television channel, he's someone that is, very recognized to wrestling fans all over the globe. Maybe not a household name, but pretty close.
We used him in WWE. They get mileage out of that, but not what they expected to because it wasn't done.
Another bad night with Seth.
But it wasn't done the right way. So my whole thing is, will he contribute a lot to AEW? The name recognition is there. Some of us who remember him for whom he is. The new crowd's got to kind of catch up with us. I have no idea how old he is.
I think he's 60. He's old. He had a couple of years on Taker.
Okay.
If he's not 60, he's going to be right around your age.
So my question is this. Why would you put yourself in jeopardy? It doesn't mean that Brian Cage can't control his moves. It doesn't mean that you can't take those moves. It means that your body's 150% different from it was when you were 35, 40, or 50.
Even at 40, that's
Yep.
from a big guy like that. That's quite a move to take.
I think Sting would have been great in there as a manager, would have been great as the Mystic. But to put yourself into the ring now and actually get involved in a match, all I'm going to say is this. How much can you really give, and how over will it really be?
Well, I look forward to seeing it. I think even for brand recognition, it's a great thing for AEW to pick up someone like Sting.
God bless
someone
Sting.
like Big Show.
Yeah.
As long as their in-ring is, again, the big word, moderation. Moderation is key, almost like anything in life.
I
If you
agree.
overdo it, I think it grows very stale very quick,
Yep.
especially with guys that, again, are, to be honest, a little long in the tooth. They're not in there, they're past their primes, they're past their peak, but they can still contribute. They still have that name value. They still have that brand that they've built up over decades. So I think great additions. What's really going to be interesting, Johnny, is probably it's not going to be for a couple of years, but once the big name contracts start to come due in WWE, who is going to be the first one to leave WWE to go to AEW that's in their prime? You could say Moxley, but Moxley wanted out of that company altogether anyway. You know what I mean? He wasn't happy in WWE. He made it clear a long time before AEW even began that he didn't want to re-sign. So I don't necessarily say if that was a big free agent signing from WWE. You know what I mean? Maybe the best analogy you could make would be someone like Christian, or even better, Kurt Angle, jumping from WWE in their prime to go to TNA. Who will be the first person to do that? Could you ever see a Roman or a Rollins or someone like that take the leap where, again, Tony Khan and the Khan family have got more money than the McMahon family do? You know, you're not talking about minor league players here.
Here's the deal, Neil. The deal is very simple. How much money can I put on the bottom line, and how long your contract's going to be? And that's what this business is all about. You know what? Remember one thing. Your job, my job, their job, professional wrestling. I have a wife, kids to support. I've got to make the best I can for as long as I can, because this isn't forever. That's the mistake a lot of the old timers made. That's why they have no money. Was the women, the wine, the booze, the cars, the hotels, the drugs. So I think the younger professionals today realize that if Vince is giving me $5 million and 10% of the gate, and Khan's going to give me $8 million and 15% of the gate, it's a no-brainer. I think the only difference is, where's the security? My whole life I've said it isn't always about the money, and I think that's important.
I think if AEW has a few more years of longevity, you'll see talent much more comfortable, willing to risk it.
There you go.
To go.
I
For
agree
a
with
company
you.
that still is, it's not even 2 years old yet.
Nope.
I mean, you know, there is some risk involved. TNT has re-signed them for a couple of years, but, you know, TV shows get canceled. You know what I mean? And right now, that without live attendance, that's their lifeline. I'll say this. I heard through the grapevine that Ricochet's contract was expiring, and God, we've said it before on this show, I can't put Ricochet over enough. I think not only right now is he, no pun intended, one of the elite talents in professional wrestling. If I have WWE and have that magic pencil, I would be grooming him to be this generation's Rey Mysterio instead of an enhancement talent that moves around the ring very quickly. If I'm Ricochet and I can get anywhere near what I'm getting financially out of WWE from AEW, I would love to see him jump to that company in a heartbeat. And I'd like to see Tony Khan and those powers that be in AEW be smart enough to realize this is a guy, size-wise, that really fits in with a lot of their roster and would blow away the majority of their roster in the ring. Ricochet is one of the elite talents in the genre right now. And to see how he's just been, maybe the best word is miscast with how they've used him since he came to the main roster back in 2019. It should be illegal, it's so bad, because he's just so good. We have mutual friends that speak very highly of him personally, because sometimes you have some great talents that can be assholes in real life.
Oh, yeah.
But very well regarded by everybody. The kids, you know, when you're trying to grab that young demographic, he's very popular amongst kids.
He is.
I don't understand why his destination in WWE is what it is right now, because it sucks.
Well,
I mean, it sucks.
If it is coming to expiration, if there's a threat that somebody's going to offer him more money, you can bet that they'll package him, pay him, and never use him. That's just
Which
to
would
keep
be a
him,
shame for fans, but not for him.
Be a shame. Ricochet's going to make money. Who cares?
Hey, if he could take better care of his family with that money, good for him. But
I
as far
think-
as wrestling fans' enjoyment goes, not so much.
I think AEW may be the ones to buy him.
I'd love to see it. I'd love to see any company to utilize him to his potential, sign him up. I'd love to see it be WWE. Like I said, at his age, he could be this generation's Rey Mysterio.
They bought him but haven't used him, so let's see what happens.
All right, wrestling fans are running out of time. On this fine episode, we would love for your feedback. If you're with us Friday Night Live during the premiere, your thoughts, your comments on the AEW, WWE banter we've had going back and forth, plus Sting, Big Show, Ricochet. If you're not joining us during the premiere, your thoughts are always welcome in the comment section below. Don't forget, help us grow the channel, baby. We don't have an ego too big. We realize there are millions upon millions of fans that don't know we exist. If you give us a thumbs up, if you hit that subscribe button, if you share the links on social media, YouTube knows you want more. And it'll show more and more new fans what we have and what we do with original in-studio shoot interviews, not one, not two, not three, 4 nights a week, plus content 7 days a week, historical content, flashbacks, talk shows, weekend reviews. I mean, Johnny, I don't know what we don't do other than have in-ring wrestling right now, but hopefully we're getting to that point too.
We're getting there.
Again, the nightlife has been killed, but the eBay store is open 24/7. Find the link in the description box below. And finally, most important, you're a friend if you watch these shows. We love you. But if you head on over to patreon.com/Boston Wrestling, you become part of the family. You get early ad-free access to all 4 of those in-studio shoot interviews every week. You get access to our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, hundreds and hundreds of shoot interviews that have been seen by millions online, millions by Howard Stern. You get exclusive Patreon access you don't see on YouTube or elsewhere, and most important, you help us keep the lights on, you help keep professional wrestling legends working. Again, it's been just about a full year now since Corona took over this country, this great country of ours. It's killed the guys when it comes to independent bookings, on wrestling events, autograph signings, conventions. For those that don't have those full-time WWE and AEW deals, their lives have been decimated. Let's get as many as possible in this studio, and for our endeavor that we're attempting to put together in Tampa at Wrestle House. So for Mr. West himself, John Cena Sr., I'm Dan Marati. Until we speak again, folks, we'll see you next Friday after SmackDown on Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Have a great week ahead. Special thanks to the Raging Beast, Cecil the Lion. Did a hell of a job directing, John.
Absolutely.
Maybe he gets a bottle of Fabo Pop.
We'll see.
Half price if nothing else.
Free.
Free, all right. We'll see you next time, folks. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the Lakeland Civic Center in Lakeland, Florida, Friday, March the 19th, 1993. In the opening contest, Raymond Rougeau beat the Brooklyn Brawler. The Nasty Boys battled the Head Shrinkers to a double disqualification. Skinner with the win over Coco Beware. Bob Backlund defeated Kimchi. Bam Bam Bigelow victorious over Kamala via countout. Typhoon beat the Cuban Terrorist. Hulk Hogan and Brutus the Barber Beefcake with the win over WWF Tag Team Champions Money Inc. in a non-title match. And in the main event, Bret Hitman Hart and Mr. Perfect defeated Lex Luger and Razor Ramon. If you were in Lakeland Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box so we can keep wrestling legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insider's Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insider's Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling.